I think um, I see some familiar faces, familiar names. And I think some of you were here for the first webinar last month. So welcome back and welcome to our new people. So we're gonna use a slide deck. I'm gonna share the screen and it's gonna be a mixture of slides and some videos. And we will I think it's best if we leave time, if I go through the slides and the video and then I leave time at the end for some questions and discussion. But feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat. And Maggie, if Maggie could keep an eye on that. So if there's anything that comes up, Maggie, that you think you should interrupt for, feel free to do that. Otherwise, we'll save them all till the end.
I will do that, absolutely.
Okay. Now, I wasn't sure. A few of the slides are going to be very similar to the beginning of last month, just to orient everyone to the Beautiful Stuff Project in case this is your first time with us. And then we'll launch into specifically about books and beautiful stuff, which is our topic tonight. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen. Okay, can everyone see that? Yep. Okay, great. Okay, so our topic tonight is books and beautiful stuff. So let's launch into it. Oh, and for those of you, I should quickly introduce myself. I'm Marina Sivak, and I'm the founding director of the Beautiful Stuff Project. So you'll probably get to know me a little bit more as the slides go on. Okay, so I always want to start by sharing that we use these two terms, so there's no confusion. We use these two terms interchangeably, loose parts and beautiful stuff. Loose parts is the academic term that was coined by Simon Nicholson in an article that he wrote called The Theory of Loose Parts. And beautiful stuff comes from this wonderful book written by two people who were affiliated with Reggio Emilia in Italy. And it's called Beautiful Stuff, Learning with Found Materials. And that's actually where the inspiration for the name of the Beautiful Stuff Project. So those two terms mean the same thing and they're interchangeable. And if you're interested in reading this article about loose parts, it's on our website in our resource section. Okay, and just so we all have a shared understanding of what we mean when we're talking about beautiful stuff or loose parts. And from here on, we're going to mostly use beautiful stuff as the term, but it will use them interchangeably. But basically, it's materials that can be anything and do many different things, can be moved, combined, lined up, stacked, taken apart, put back together in multiple ways. No specific way to use beautiful stuff. There are many outcomes instead of just one right way to do something. Children can make their own meaning from the materials, and the child drives the process. And there's just unlimited play possibilities. Beautiful stuff can be natural, synthetic, usually collected rather than purchased, although the dollar store is always a great source of loose parts or beautiful stuff. Here are some examples: pine cones, corks, tiles, tubes, all things like that are beautiful stuff. So an example I always love to use are these red bottle caps that we have tons of at the Beautiful Stuff Project. And here are 4 different ways that different kids use them. Wheels on a race car, stacked up as a foundation for a structure, a on-off button on a rocket ship, or the element of an abstract creation. So you can see one bottle cap could be 4 different things. So why do we use our beautiful stuff and our treasure in beautiful stuff? We know that children learn best through meaningful play. We know that research shows that children need to do this kind of open-ended creative play. It's critical for short and long-term well-being. Play has been disappearing from classrooms in today's educational culture of high stakes academics. We see less and less of it. And the way that Beautiful Stuff curates them in our treasure boxes, which was the topic of our first webinar, are very time efficient, low cost, easy to manage way to keep play on the public school schedule. And I should say, for those of you who weren't with us for the first webinar, which was our introduction to the Beautiful Stuff project and our treasure box curriculum, there was a recording of that is on YouTube, and the link to it is on our website. So if you'd like to go back and listen to that, you can do that. And tonight's will be recorded as well. I'm just reminding from last time of the important dispositions that this kind of play encourages: independence, imagination, total engagement, risk-taking, creative problem solving, and perseverance. And I just want to, again, these are slides taken from my presentation last month that was introducing the Beautiful Stuff Project Treasure Box curriculum. And just want to give you a reminder, because today we're just expanding on that by focusing on all the books that we use that go along with our Beautiful Stuff play and our treasure box curriculum. So I wanted to remind you what the treasure boxes look like. So you have that in mind as we move into our discussion focused on books and literacy. So here's a selection of our classic treasure boxes. And you can see that it's a curated collection of loose parts. And I always like to remind people that we think very carefully about what we put in every treasure box, the loose parts. We don't just take a handful of stuff and dump it in. We think about children's play schemas and what they naturally do. They love to build up, so we make sure we have pieces that make a strong foundation. We have flats so they can build levels. We love to do even numbers because kids are drawn to order and symmetry. We like to have things that have different textures, so it's a sensory experience. So we think, and as we move into tonight, boxes that we use that are inspired by books are often curated for play that will be inspired by whatever the book is that we're using with the Beautiful Stuff play. So here's me modeling the process. That's the first thing that we do. We explicitly model how to use a treasure box. Just basically telling kids you can dump it out and explore what you have, get inspired, and then you can make whatever you want. Gently dump the stuff from your box, examine your treasures, feel the textures, hold for weight, compare sizes. We encourage kids to sort, to count, and then most importantly, they get to create whatever they want. But we really want kids to take time with the materials, to draw inspiration, to really engage with the materials and not rush through anything. And here's just a short video clip of what happens, just to give you a sense of general treasure box play after I've modeled for them on the rug, or their teacher has modeled for them, and now they're back at their desks. So that just gives you a feel of a public school classroom and the way the kids can be at their own seat. They have the mat for their workspace, and they have their own boxes, and they are creating all kinds of wonderful things. Okay, so now we're going to launch into specifically tonight's topic is about books and Beautiful Stuff. in one of my past iterations of my teaching life, I was a reading specialist. And I was also a reading recovery teacher. And I absolutely love books and everything. And I have a ridiculous collection of children's books. I can't resist getting books. And so from the beginning, everything that we did with Beautiful Stuff, every set of treasure boxes was linked to a book. And we, at every time we're with kids in the classroom, we're not only playing with Beautiful Stuff, but we're also sharing a relevant children's book. So in the beginning, when we were doing what we call our classic treasure boxes, which are the ones that I just showed you, that are a curated collection of loose parts, we paired those boxes with a book that starred a young innovator, a child creator. And there are lots of them and lots of wonderful books out there with the key character who is just creating something wonderful. And more books are coming out. I mean, they just it seems like all the time there are new books featuring kids like this. So one of our favorites is Regards to the Man in the Moon, which is an old favorite by Ezra Jack Keats, where two friends create a rocket ship out of junk and fly to the moon. Some of you may know of the books, the Rosie Revere books, Izzy Peck Architect. There's several. Izzy Peck Architect, Rosie Revere Engineer, Ada Twist Scientist, a whole series of these books that feature kids who are engineering, building all kinds of things. Izzy Gizmo is another one, The Most Magnificent Thing, Be a Maker. We have a bibliography on our website that has all these books and more on them. So, but these are just a good selection of kind of general books that feature a child inventor. And here's just some beautiful creations after here being inspired by Izzy Gizmo or Rosie Revere or Iggy Peck, then the kids go back and they're their own creators. Then over the years, we have moved into, we still use and have our classic treasure boxes, but we also have created many sets of boxes that have a more specific focus. Um, we have created a lot of them based on the interests of the staff at Beautiful Stuff. We've created many in collaboration with teachers who had ideas, and we've also worked with standards, school-based standards, science standards, math standards, to create treasure box sets with accompanying books that fit within those structures. So one really big theme for us has been builders and architects. And these are two books that we absolutely love and use a lot. You can see this one on the left is called Two Tall Houses, and it's about an owl and a rabbit who um, start out as friends, but then they live next to each other, but they keep building their houses taller and taller, and it's blocking the sun, and it's, their houses just, they're each building their own house and they keep getting taller and taller until they're so tall that a big wind comes and crashes them down and they're left with nothing. And so they build a house together. So we have created boxes for Two Tall Houses, and we add a rabbit and an owl in each of them to add to the imaginative play and the storytelling the kids can do, as well as the loose parts they have to build their own houses. Um, and the rabbit and the owl really lead them to be able to retell the story. The Little Red Fort is one that I have recently found, and I absolutely love it. This little girl, Ruby, um, tries to engage her brothers to help her build a fort. It's like, and they're not helping, but she does it herself. And then in the end, they come around and um, help her out. But it's a very impact girl power, great story about that features this builder. And you can see on the right here are some girls that were building their own fort after having heard the Little Red Fort. And it's a great way to introduce real life stories. So this is about architects and builders. And this is The World is Not a Rectangle is a wonderful biography of an Iranian female architect that's also a great inspiration for building with loose parts. This one, Someone Builds the Dream, is a really great real life story of all the different people, and there are many women in this book, of everyone that it takes to build a house. And then I always love to add kind of folk art, outsider art, um, artists in our studies. And so this is the story of Grandma Prisby, who made a big house out of just bottles. So it's also a great way to introduce artists and that kids might otherwise learn about. And here's some house structure building. We also sometimes not just constructing houses, but like constructing rooms. This book, My Very Own Room, is about a little girl who lives in a house with many, many people in her family, and she's dying for her own room, and her mother helps her turn a closet into her bedroom, and they painted, and she furnishes her little closet all her own. It's a great book that's in Spanish and English, and inspires kids to create their own rooms, their own imaginative rooms, or or maps of their real rooms. So you can see, like, here's this little boy explaining the room that he created to his friends. Really great for language development and vocabulary building. So and then also Imaginary Lands. These are three favorites. The Salamander Room, which is about a little boy who in his dreams, he turns his whole room into a habitat for a salamander, which fits great into many early childhood curriculums that focus on habitats. And Matland and Roxy Boxen are imaginary lands that are created by children. So we often pair these with what we call our small world treasure boxes, and kids can create their own imaginary worlds. Okay, so and then we have we have loose part, beautiful stuff play treasure boxes that focus on like one material or one shape. So these are our tile treasure boxes that are a very big hit. And it's all tiles, all squares. So it can be used, as a great geometry introduction to squares. We love to pair it with the book Pezzatino by Leo Leoni. Pezzatino means little square, and it inspires, you can see, a lot of great creature building. So that's tiles. We also, again, here's another kind of outsider artist that was introduced through this treasure box play of tiles. It's the story of the Watts Towers. Simon Rodia is the man who created the Watts Towers in LA. He used to work on the railroad tracks, and he would collect all kinds of little pieces of tile and rocks and jewels, and that's how he created the Watts Towers that are in LA. And so you can see that we have these trays out. We're not treasure boxes, but treasure trays with tiles and kids creating their own towers. Circles and dots. I bet a lot of you are familiar with 10 Black Dots. And those are also a fan favorite. Just all kinds of dots and all the different ways that you can create with 10 black dots. That's what this book is. The book, it's a counting book that goes through what can you do with 1 dot, 2 black dots, 3 black dots, and then kids have fun creating. And we also love, as I've said, to introduce artists, and dots are, I don't know if any of you have heard of this Yo-Yo Kusama, the Japanese artist who's the polka dot artist. Everything she creates has polka dots all over it. And these are two wonderful child biographies of her. And then we have these boxes that we just fill with dots and the kids create. Paper is another wonderful loose, you can use it as a loose part, use it as an open-ended art material. Um, and here are two books again that we love, Perfect Square and Windblown. Perfect Square takes a square, and on every page, it's a different way that it's ripped up or crumpled, or something different is done with the piece of paper, and then it creates something else. So it could be ripped up, and then it turns into a fountain. Um, and every page is different. And the same with Windblown, it's the same idea, but on every page, several pieces of different shapes of paper blow in and then create something different. So just really wonderful inspiration for kids to then go and create their own collage. And then we also will introduce collage artists as part of using paper as a material, an open-ended art material. And we like to show a diversity of artists. There's Henri Matisse. This is a good little biography of Henri Matisse, who was a very famous collage artist. This is Jean-Michel Basquiat, who was also a collage artist. And then some of you might know Lois Ellard's books. She was a pretty prolific children's book author and illustrator, and many of her books are illustrated with collage. And this book, Scraps, tells the story of her life and her beginnings as a collage artist. So again, all of these are on our resource bibliography that you can get on our website. Moving through another wonderful open-ended art material that can be considered a loose part is wire. It's actually one of my favorites to use wire with kids. Start collecting wire at your local florist, or anything you can save, twist ties, pipe cleaners. There's all kinds of wire that's fun to use. Um, Sandy Circus is the story of Alexander Calder's wire circus. Alexander Calder did a lot of art with wire. He did circus animals, so you can see this was out on a choice table with kids, and you can see a little elephant here that a child did. Here's a dancer. We don't The treasure boxes look a little different for wire. You can see we use more like Tinker trays that have wire, and then all kinds of little beads and buttons and things with holes the kids can create with the wire. And the other artist who is very interesting is a Japanese artist named Ruth Asawa, who was also a wire sculptor. And this is a fairly new biography of her, but also just a great inspiration of an artist who created with wire. And this is another inspiration for wire. Some of you might know this book, Galimoto, which is about a little boy who lives in an African village, and he collects wire scraps all through his village because he's determined to create a Galimoto, which is a toy bike. And so this story is his story of his trials and tribulations through his village collecting wire, and then how he puts together a bike with all his wire. And again, you can see what our treasure box looks like here, that has wire and various things in it to help a student create their own Galimoto or whatever else they want to create with wire. We never require that they have to do exactly what the book did. Okay, so are there any, let me just, I'm going to introduce an author, Hanak Piven, but let me just stop share right there for a sec. Are there any comments that came up in the chat or anything before we move into going in depth with a particular author illustrator?
It's nice to see the new books that you're using now, Marina.
Oh, hi, Roxanne. Yeah, it's ever growing. I mean, there are just so many wonderful books out there. And I'm sure if we open this up, people have tons of ideas of books that you've used.
Yeah.
I am just sure. And it might be fun if you have to just write them in the chat. If you have books that you've used with Loose Parts Play, books that you've used that have really inspired creativity, just put them in the chat because I'm sure you're full of ideas.
Thanks.
Any other comments before we move on? Okay, we'll go back. Okay, so I want to introduce you to an author, Hanak Piven. He is an Israeli author and illustrator. He lives in Israel. He's actually Argentinian, but grew up in Israel. And he is first and foremost, he's a collage artist and had a very successful career creating collages out of collage portraits out of loose parts. But secondarily, he also is a children's book author, and he has a collection of books, children's books, that are all illustrated with loose parts, and they are just wonderful. We use them all the time. We use this one, Let's Make Faces. It's a wonderful alternative to your traditional self-portrait. We use all of them. So I wanted to introduce you to his website, pivenworld.com. And I want to show you a video of him in his studio. And then I'm going to show you a short video of me introducing Faces treasure boxes that go along with the Faces book. So I have to get out of the share here. And hold on a sec. Whoops. Okay, can you see that? Whoops. Okay, do you see the Piven? Yep, okay. So this is piven.com. And I really recommend that you spend some time perusing this website. Look at you can see these are some of his collages. Who do you think? There's Donald Trump, Stephen Hawkins. You can see, I mean, they're just amazing. So you should spend some time looking through that. And then I wanted to show us a short video that shows him in his studio, which I think is also a great thing to show to kids, to see an artist in their studio. So let me find that.
I'm a guy who plays with objects, I guess. I have been creating with objects for the last 25 years. I basically draw with objects because I can't draw. I don't know how to draw. I'm not very good at it. And failing in traditional drawing has been the biggest source of creativity for me. that drove me to look for other ways of doing things, to question all the assumptions on how a portrait should be. And that led me to find my own way of doing portraits. I was drawing a portrait of Saddam Hussein, and it just wasn't happening for me. And then suddenly I saw this box of matches, and I said, how about I put the matches as the mustache? A big part of being creative is to challenge all the assumptions. You allow yourself to ask the simple childish question, why does it have to be that way? Maybe it can be another way. There is a lot of inspiration in the process itself. To start the process with failure, to allow yourself to fail. But once you are there, the failures lead to success. I was commissioned by Rolling Stone magazine to make a portrait of Homer Simpson. And I couldn't come up with good ideas. I was drawing little sketches, I didn't like them, and I kept throwing them to the garbage can in my studio. And then I looked at the garbage can in the studio, and it just looked exactly like the mouth of Homer Simpson. Happy accidents are, in a way, the greatest gift to any creative person. They're there all the time, and most people don't see them. And you need to train yourself to see them. For me, creativity is definitely about not to do things always the same way. Creativity is about challenging the preconceptions of how things should be.
Okay. So there are many other videos on here that are worth perusing. He used to have a children's TV show that manipulates loose parts as part of the TV show. So just some really interesting ways to think about loose parts play as part of a book. Okay, so let me go back. Okay, so all of these books are also listed on the resource list in the website. So you can see here's Let's Make Faces, and here's on the left, what a child made with we had a loose part of faces. We have faces treasure boxes, and on the right, also some faces from loose parts play. I thought I would show you this little video clip of, this was made for teachers, who were going to be introducing the faces treasure bags, these actually are, in their classroom. So I thought this could be helpful to see.
And I'm the founding director of the Beautiful Stuff Project. And today, hi friends, my name is Marina Sivak, and I'm the founding director of the Beautiful Stuff Project. And today, I'm going to model for you how to use our faces treasure bags. Or you might have treasure boxes, faces treasure boxes. To start, we love to use this book called Let's Make Faces by Hannah Pivot to inspire the exploration of these materials. It's a really wonderful book that makes all kinds of portraits using beautiful stuff. You can see like a balloon and a little monkey, whistles for ears, a monster face, Scrabble letters. So this is a great inspiration before the kids use their bags. It's also a great social emotional book to talk about different feelings and expressions, happy, sad, happy. Okay, so this is Faces by Hannah Pivot, and he also has a lot of other very wonderful books illustrated with beautiful stuff. Okay, so here's what my bag looks like today. Yours might be in a box. I'm not sure what your program has, but it's the same kind of materials. And the first thing you want to do is dump it all out on your mat. And then I always love to encourage kids to do some sorting. So I'll put these two black foam. Oh, look at these. I'm going to put these together, these two shovels. I'm going to put anything that's a circle together. This is helping me think, like, get inspired. Like, what would be good pieces for eyes? What would be good pieces for hair? Okay, I'm really looking and sorting and getting inspired. I have all these different little clips. These could make some good spiky hair. This could be a good neck. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to push my stuff a little bit, beautiful stuff a little bit out. Okay, and I'm going to get started. Let's start with some eyes. I'm going to make it this way so it's not upside down. So here are my two eyes. I think this might just be the perfect nose. A little snout on it. This, actually, I think makes kind of a cool mouth. It could go this way, it could be like that open and close, or it could be like this, which kind of looks like a smile. Ooh, it has some perfect hair. Have some colored, bi-colored hair. You know what? I'm kind of feeling a little like a rabbit. So these are going to be my rabbit ears. These are going to be my arms. And there you go. There's the beginning of a portrait. Okay, and you know what the really great thing about beautiful stuff is? If you make something that you love, but you're totally done and you have more time, you can just mix it all up, resort it or put it in a pile, and then you can make a different face. So there you go. It's fun, it's easy, it's creative, and I hope you all really enjoy yourself.
Okay, so that's an example of the Faces treasure box. I wanted to introduce you to a couple more things that are great resources. So the Hanek Piven website, and there's also this really wonderful organization called Naturally Creative. And they also have a series of books that are illustrated with loose parts or beautiful stuff. And I want to show you, let me just, I'm going to get out of stop share again. Hold on. And okay, whoops. Okay, so do you see this? Natural Creative. So this is a great website, Naturally Creative. This is one of their books called Junk DNA. And I'm just going to show you I'm not going to show the whole video, but I want you to see this book that's illustrated with loose parts as well.
I have always had a fascination with storytelling and using small objects to make pictures and tell stories. In my book, Junk DNA, I used recycled metal objects such as nuts, bolts, screws, bottle tops, and light bulbs, along with paper and cardboard to create the illustrations that tell the story of a little person who is created when some pieces fall from a pile of junk. I wanted to show how we can use recycled materials and everyday objects to bring our imaginative ideas to life. You can look at the pictures in the book and describe what you see to tell the story in your own words. Or why not try to create your own story using loose parts?
That's naturallycreative.net. So again, it's really, I think it's worth, when you have time, to go and peruse this website too. They do sell their materials, and they sell all kinds of cool sets of loose parts, which you really can probably collect yourself, but it's worth taking a look. Okay. Okay, so let me go back to our slides. Okay. So, and then I was just wanted to show, I'm going to quickly go through just a few more slides because I realize it's already 10 of, and I want to leave some time for discussion. But just in terms of using books and then creating your own treasure boxes, your own collections with your students, it could be a great homework project, or to have kids all bring in. So for example, color, to create colored treasure boxes. And these are great books for inspiration. These books by Laura Vaccaro Seeger, there's green that's up in the left-hand corner and blue in the middle, are really beautiful books that are a great inspiration for color. And then this is a new one I found. It's up in the right hand corner, and it's called Blue also, but it's actually the history of the color of indigo. And it's very beautiful and will be a great inspiration for a color exploration. So we have created boxes curated by color. So here on the bottom, you see a creation made with one of our blue treasure boxes, and in the bottom right-hand corner are teachers playing with various colored curated treasure boxes. But over here are, in the left-hand corner, and the picture up on the top, are collections that teachers made. You could, like one night for homework, have everyone bring in something green the next day, and then there you go. You have your own collection, your own green collection of loose parts, and you could create a whole set that way. The same, another loose part, a way that we've done this also is having you create your own treasure boxes of lines, loose part lines. Here are straws and Q-tips and string. You could have all the kids bring in something that's a line, a chopstick, a marker, and then have them create with all the lines. And this book, Lines That Wiggle, is a great inspiration for line play. Like we just saw, in Junk DNA, metal is a great loose part. Here are 3 books that are wonderful inspirations: The Tin Forest, Mechanimals, which is this man creates all these animals out of metal junk he finds, Scrap Metal Swan, and have kids bring in little, metal things from home, keys, and these are ball jar tops, little screws. Again, you can create your own great collection of metal. And the last one I wanted to share is using rocks and sticks as loose parts. And there are lots of books that are about rocks and stones for children, but this is one of my favorites, Elizabetti's Rock. And where you can see down here, her mother just had a baby, and Elizabetti really wanted her own baby, so she found a rock, and the rock became her baby, and she did everything with it that her mother did with her baby sibling, bathed it, put it to sleep, dressed it. So again, it's just another wonderful way of playing creatively with something. There's lots of wonderful books about rocks and stones. I think we have some on our website. Also, twigs and sticks are another great loose part to use. I was going to share, but in the interest of time, I'm going to not. But this is another great resource, is the Center for Playful Inquiry, and they have this book called Story Workshop, and they do a lot of storytelling with loose parts storytelling. I was going to show you a little short video of it, but I think we only have 10 minutes left, and I'd rather use that for discussion. But I really recommend going to this website, the Center for Playful Inquiry.com, and checking out what they do too. And then just to really encourage you to go to our website, thebeautifulstuffproject.org, and really peruse it for all the resources. Go to our resource page to find the bibliography, to find the recordings of these webinars and other organizations and articles and things that have been helpful to us in our work and we think could support your work as well. Our Instagram and Facebook pages are very active. I post pretty much every day, so I can be sharing everything that's going on in classrooms to inspire teachers to try things out on their own. Okay, so for the last, we have a few minutes left, and I would love to hear from you, hear questions, comments, inspiration.